Now let's go ahead and cover the shapes in details. Let's go ahead first cover the box. So let's click there, and if I go up, you can see the output type is set to dynamic mesh. By default, when you use the modeling tools inside Unreal Engine, this should be the static mesh. So each time you create a shape, you need to come over here and change that to dynamic mesh. But if you want to set the option dynamic mesh by default, you can come over here to the gear button, click on that, and then go to new mesh settings and change it to dynamic mesh actor. After you change it, you need to restart Unreal Engine. So now, each time you create a shape, the output type will be by default dynamic mesh. So it's very useful. Not every time you create a shape, you need to go to output type and change it to dynamic mesh. We have the width. We talked about that. We have the width subdivision, and we have the depth. And here we have the polygroup mode. So by default, it's set to per face. So basically this will create a polygroup based on the shape normals. So each face will have one polygroup. But if you change that to per shape, the entire shape will have one polygroup. So if I click on that, and if I go to model and polygroup edit, you can see it's one polygroup, and I can't select the faces. And if I go ahead and cancel that, let's go ahead again to the box and create another one. And if I change that to per quad, and now Unreal Engine will create a polygroup for each face. So if I hit accept and go again to model, polygroup edit, you can see I can select any face I want. And this is a very useful option if you want to do modeling. So, and here we have the target surface. It's set to on scene. So if you create another box, as you see, when I move my mouse over the last box, it snaps over it. So I can create that over it. Or you can change that to ground plane. Now when you create the box, this will ignore the other objects. So as you see, it sticks to the ground. And we have the show gizmo. Let's go and set that back on scene. And we have the align to normal. This will align the object to the normal of the shape you want to snap on. And here we have the material. We can assign the material. Let's go ahead and type wood. And we're gonna choose this one. And here you can change the UV scale. Let's go ahead and disable the show wireframe. And now if I go ahead and increase the size of the box, let's go ahead and move this one too. So as you see, the UVs are scaling with the object. But if you go ahead and check that on, the word space UV scale on, so now if I change the scale, you can see we have consistent UV scale. But after you hit the accept button, if you scale it, this will scale the UVs again. So you need to scale the shape from the width, depth, and the height in order to work with the world space UV scale. And we're gonna create the sphere. We have similar options except for the shape details. We have the radius. We have the subdivision type. So if I go ahead to the wireframe and change the box to last long, you can see it's completely different subdivision. And here you can control the division too. And the remaining options are similar to the box. And even if you click on the cylinder, as you see, they are all similar except for this part. And we have the torus, and we have the cone. So as you see, everything is similar to the other shapes. And here we have the rectangle and the disc and the stairs. I will leave that to you to explore it. So in the next lesson, we're gonna take a look at the other options.